I think a lot of times we think that we know who Jesus is factually. So ever since we were in, preschool, kindergarten, you have this idea of who Jesus is. And, you sit through the Easter Mass, you sit through, Good Friday, the Paschal Mysteries, and you hear all of this about his life and what he did. And it's easy to, I think, look at him and say, oh, I know who Jesus is. And you start rattling off facts about him. And it's very similar to if you've ever picked up a photo album of like a family that you might know a little bit about, and you start flipping through and you can see like the grandpa and the grandma, and then you flip again, you see all their children, and then you flip again and you see the grandchildren, and they're at this lake house, and you're sitting there and you factually start seeing who they are. But the difference between that factual knowledge of who our Lord is, and think about if you sat down with that same photo album and you had the entire family sitting around you. And as you flip the page, they start jumping in with, and then this is who this is, and telling stories about them, and and she's married to him, and these are their kids, and this one time, and all of a sudden, the pictures come to life. And as people are telling stories about their experiences and things that they've done, the people become real. It's not just, Mary is married to, Joe, and Joe and Mary have 3 kids. It's this living, breathing experience. And I think sometimes we look at our Lord, we look at our church, and we say, oh yeah, I know about them, I know him, I know what he's about. And we completely miss who Jesus is. Because part of understanding who our Lord is inviting him into your story and the role that you have to play in the great story of salvation history. And I think we forget that he sees each of us as individuals, and he wants to walk with you through those pictures, through your life, not as a bystander that's like, oh, that's nice, but he wants to live and breathe and be there with you. And a lot of times I'll talk to people about our Lord, and they almost talk about him like he sits on a cloud in the sky. God is very, very distant. And I think it's hard for us as believers and people who are just being introduced to our Lord to understand that asking our Lord to enter into your heart and having a personal relationship with him, encountering him as a best friend, that intimacy that you can have with our Lord, it's not as hard as you would think. And it's an invitation that he's offering to you, that he could be at the center and the rock of your life, as close as your breath.